out come our junior Rotaxers then, the quickest of all of our carts here. Junior Kart Championship. Jacob Duke starts on pole position. Pavilinis alongside Jaden Hewitt and Curtis Latimer, row 2. Elliot Thomas and Jensen Mason on row 3. Row 4 sees Ollie Naylor and Tom Carter. The top 10 then completed by Finley Watson and Harry Hurstgrove, with Sam Stoner and Maximus Shields on row 6. Bartek Filipiak and Nicholas Ellis are on row number 7. Tidy then into the first couple of corners, then into the chicane. Looks like everybody came in quite hot there. We've had briefings about this all weekend. It looks like everybody's starting to get the message about taking it steady into that first corner. You're never going to win a race in the first one, but you can certainly lose it, as we saw earlier on in micros, with drivers getting stuck on the opening lap. Looks like Jacob Dukes, though, has managed to take advantage on the opening lap and move away. Finley Watson, I believe, has moved up into second place, but we'll get confirmation in around about 10 seconds time as they come over the line for the first time. That is Watson there up into second, I think. So Dukes leads the way from Watson, Hewitt, Pavilinis, Hurst, Grover, Mason, Carter, Ellis, Naylor and Latimer. Stoner, Shields and Filipiak. Looks like we are missing one of our 14 runners. Hasn't made it out at the start, actually, so they'd be shown in 14th with just no time to come over at the start of the rolling. Tracy Carter's been on, just saying good luck to Tom Carter and Jensen Mason. Also wishing Ethan, I think that's going to be Ethan Hayes, a speedy recovery as he moved down the inside there by the 45 of Tom Carter. He moves up on Harry Hurst Grover. Jensen Mason comes through as well, I think, into 6th place. Hurst Grover then dropped a couple down into 7th. Dukes has a comfortable lead at the moment of 1.4 seconds. They've pretty much opened all of that out in the opening lap here. It looks like Carter with another move down the inside. That's Pavilinis having to drop another place down into 5th. I think Carter then coming through with a fair rate of knots, but by the time he gets through the rest of the pack, looks like Hewitt is next for him in 3rd place, a driver who had 1 or 2 issues yesterday, I think it's fair to say. Pavilinis gets hung out to dry, actually, then the double apex right, and it's going to drop him behind Nicholas Ellis down into 8th place. Latimer then the driver next, trying to take advantage, with Stoner, Naylor, Shields and Filipiak in the background. We still run pretty much nose to tail in our junior Rotax class. Finley Watson starting to chip away as we've got the 58 Jensen Mason under investigation for an infringement. So yeah, we've got Finley Watson beginning to close in on the drivers, on the driver in front, Jacob Dukes. I think the gap was 1.2, it's down to a second, so he's chipping 2/10 away per lap. So Finley Watson, driver who not too far from this Lydd circuit, lives in Dover. This is his local track, so really has that local track knowledge. Jacob Dukes, who opened the gap up right at the start of the race, going to have to hang on to this one, I think. I think at 2/10 of that, Watson's going to reel this one in with about 3 remaining. Ellis close on Jensen Mason, then down that back straight into the double right, but closing up, but can't do enough to get alongside, and then loses a bit more. So takes a tighter entry, but then a wide exit and loses it a little bit. We'll get the move into the second chicane there as he tries to dive to the inside of Jensen Mason. Mason, though, wise to it, and closes the door, although leaves it open, wide open, in fact, into the bottom hairpin and through into the lead. Also into the 5th place now comes Jensen Mason. Almost at half race distance then, as the Hurst Grover has a nibble at Jensen Mason for 6th place. They've closed right up, as now we see Ollie Naylor on the inside of Curtis Latimer, and he's through by the time they come over start finish for 9th place, with Latimer then dropping to 10th. Behind them Stoner and Shields and Filipiak not too far back. Move there by Hurst Grover down the inside. Came from a fair distance back, actually, on Jensen Mason, so he came through. Good overtake into that bottom hairpin. 3.5 minutes through range. So we are around about half race distance when you add that additional 1 lap on at the end as well. Ollie Naylor then will come over the line in 9th, and back to 8th. He's got past Previlness for 9th place. Stoner, Shields, Filipiak and Latimer has dropped all the way down to the back of the pack. Not sure what's happened there, or whether he's just been hung out on a move where everyone's come down the inside and he just can't get back in, as there's a late dive to the inside then by the 38 of Sam Stoner on Previlness, and Max Shields would likely take advantage of that as well, and he's down the inside into the right-hander on the back chicane. We move him up into 10th place. He's going to take full advantage of Sam Stoner coming through, and then down the inside of Stoner into the hairpin at the bottom of the track. That double right came out of nowhere, really, did Max Shields. Carried loads of speed. Maybe the tyres in that car just coming to him a little bit more towards the end of the race. So far has taken advantage of Stoner moving his way through, and has done the same with him as they've sort of worked together on the way through. But now Shields looking very racy on Stoner. Certainly knows that he's geared up to get through on that car at the end of that back straight, as we now see Nicholas Ellis trying to find a way through on Jaden Hewitt. The gap for the leaders though now down to 1.5 tenths of a second. It's going to get tasty at the head of this junior Rotax race, as Finlay Watson has closed right up on Jacob Dukes. Is there anything Duke can do really to hold back Finlay Watson? That back chicane. Watson not quite close enough actually on Jacob Dukes to really consider it, but does close up under braking. Will Dukes be able to run out? The gap on the last lap was 1.5 tenths. It's out to 2.5 tenths over start finish this time round. Dukes closing righting up on them. Don't look at the Nausea panel in front of Duke's car. It looks like it's bouncing around a lot. I'm not sure if the bolts come out of that or it's just very loose. It is very skew width. I think he could potentially be missing something on the front of there. Don't think that's going to cause a mechanical flag, because it's still got another 2 bolts in right at the top, but I'm sure it's causing a little bit of annoyance, and will certainly be the airflow certainly on that car, as down the inside then comes Watson on Dukes. It's certainly going to be deflecting the air. I know you have a huge amount of aero on karts, but there's a reason that there's a hole in the front of that to deflect the air up, and if the Nausea panel is skew width, it's not going to do him any favours at all. And Finlay Watson then now leading the way on Jacob Dukes. They've got a gap of 5 seconds or so back to Tom Carter, who's moved his way up into 3rd with Ellis and Hewitt 4th and 5th respectively. Then there's another gap back to Hurst Grover. So Tom Carter, one to watch later on when he's not having to come through the entire pack. For me here, certainly has his name on a heat victory, I think. And across the line, I think we're going to get 2 more laps in then in this junior Rotax race. Jacob Dukes has actually managed to stick with Finlay Watson, who reeled him in at the rate of around 2 tenths a lap until he found a way through on the previous, as Jensen Masons, we see him drop 2 places on timing behind Ollie Naylor and Max Shields in 7th and 8th respectively. Dukes is actually managing to stick now with Finlay Watson since Watson has come through. So whether it's just that Watson was able to use a bit of aero and drag up onto the back of Jacob Dukes, or whether Dukes has actually managed to find something now sitting on the back of the driver who's done thousands of laps around this Lydd track. Over the curbs they bounce then. They enter the final lap. Dukes has a think about it into the second chicane. Flicks out, goes to the inside, drops straight back in though. Not close enough to make a dive down the inside. I think he's dropped a little bit further back now, so it looks like Finlay Watson is going to be able to bring this one home reasonably comfortably in the end. The gap has opened up there now. That's probably around about nearly a second, at least half a one, as Dukes has given up the battle in this first junior Rotax race of the day. Watson takes the flag then with Dukes half a second back. Carter through for 3rd and sets the personal best. Nicholas Ellis, Jaden Hewitt then 4th and 5th. Then on the final lap, looks like Hurst Grover's going to get 6th. Shields has found a way past Naylor for 7th. Stoner and Mason complete the top 10. In front of Previlness, Filipiak, and then Curtis Latimer, who dropped right away at the end of that race, having run comfortably in the midfield throughout.